Let's bring in Matthew Barnaby. It was in his backyard up there in Ottawa, if you are in Ottawa. The Panthers spanked the Sens 5-0, Barney, and there was this... Listen, I went to bed after the second period. I'm like, this one's over. Did I miss something or did I not miss something? Because old school guys are saying this is nothing. What do you think?
You know what? It was the Kachucks being Kachucks, and you take either of those guys leading your team. They're as close to old school as you can get with talent. So in an uneventful game that it was for the Ottawa Senators, a big win for the Florida Panthers. The third period was exciting. It was a little throwback hockey. It was it wasn't much to see, but it was a lot to see at the same time. No one got hurt. Some good scraps, but I love the Kachuk brothers. Absolutely love them.
Okay, so that was a page out of your playbook, basically. You were a fan of what went on then.
Yeah, I mean, again, there was nothing malicious. Maybe the McEwen hit on Kachuk and then he jumps him. That might have been a little over the top. You know, Matthew Kachuk going after the goaltender. It was nothing bad. But yeah, I like seeing a little bit. I don't turn in to see fights anymore. I tune in to see great hockey. But if a fight happens and that kind of extracurricular stuff happens, I'm certainly not going to bed or going for a hot dog, as they say, at that game. I'm enjoying it, but I take it for what it is.
As you say, if we were watching for the fights, we'd be disappointed every night. That's why I went to bed. I'm like, nothing's going to happen here. I should have known next time the Kachucks go head-to-head, I will not. It's on me. But listen, Barney, with all these firings, Jay Woodcroft, now Everson, and probably soon DJ Smith, is it not out of control? Is it not out of control? I feel like it is. What do you think?
Well, I think when you look at, where a team is and expectations are where they are, and Edmonton, listen, is it all Jay Woodcroft's fault? No. Defense isn't good enough. The goaltending hasn't been good enough. Connor McDavid and Draisaitl early on weren't great. Now you have McDavid that has 12 points in the last 4 games, and you're going to see them start winning games. But the problem is you're looking for a jolt, and the only way you can get that jolt, so you're not... The carnivores are coming in and trying to rob you of your good players and not making you fair offers. So I think ideally you'd like to make a trade. Unfortunately, when your team is struggling, other GMs are trying to come in and rob you. And the only real thing you have is to fire a coach. I think it's almost inevitable that DJ is the next one that is gone. The team has been up and down defensively, not the best team in the league, but they got to sell it to their fans. I think it comes down to, showing that they're going to do something. I'm a New York Jets fan. We've been through this a million times. I don't think we fire our coach, but certainly if they don't start off next year the way that they are, he'll be the one to go. And I think DJ, if they don't win 3 out of the next 5 or 6 of the next 10 and keep themselves relatively close, that's just what happens. That's the nature of the beast in this game.
Well, you need somebody running the show, and I mean a GM or maybe an owner, but there's no owners really that know anything about this team that they own or the sport. But my point is, like the Sens, are they bad or are they just playing bad? Because last night they were awful. I know the Panthers were good, but I'm like, this team's bad.
Yeah, defensively they're bad. Defensively they're bad, and they're good offensively. They got a lot of good things that go on this team, but you look for consistency, and when you talk about consistency, that comes down to coaching, because ultimately he puts out the guys, he implements the systems, and when you lose 5-0 at home against a good team, Florida's a really good team. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year, but ultimately that rests on the coach, and DJ knows that. I like DJ Smith a lot. I hope they don't get rid of him. Unfortunately, the fan base is at a point now, and you also have an owner that just took over that DJ wasn't his guy. I think they liked DJ, but ultimately it wasn't Steve Staios' guy. It wasn't Michael Andlauer's guy. And when you don't have success and they expect to make a splash when you spend $1 billion American on a team, you expect to be in a playoff position where this team is now. So long-winded answer to your question, they aren't as bad as they were last night, and they should be better than they are where they are.
Okay, thank you. To the Leafs and Panthers tonight, looking ahead, I can't believe that Brad Treliving had to call a news conference to just explain where they're at. Like, again, we're 20 games in. Everybody's saying, Rod, it's Toronto. It's Toronto. Well, then you're idiots then. Let him coach the team. But what's your take on the Leafs right now?
Well, I think it is idiotic, but it is Toronto, and I do get that. But like, they're in a good spot right now. They haven't played great. They've been up and down. They've been inconsistent, but I don't think it's time to call a press conference and explain where you're at. Try to find ways to improve your team, and this team has to get better defensively as well. Like if they want to be a serious Stanley Cup contender, and I don't think that they are. This is a talented offensive team, but one of the big guys is going to have to go. One of the big guys, and I think that guy is probably Marner. Nylander he was great in the playoffs last year. He's been the best player this year so far, and Marner's the guy making around $11 million. So I think they have to try to find a way where they don't tie up that money, because right now there's no way, I just don't see it, even though the cap is going up by a few $1 million, that they're going to be able to afford Nylander and have all that money tied up in that top four. So I think it's trying to find a way to move Marner, bring in some D, because if they are going to be a serious contender, they need help on that back end. But it's Toronto. It's always a favorite, and they're the declared hockey mecca of the world.
Self-proclaimed. I get it. Hey, please give me instant analysis on Patrick Kane joining Detroit at 1 year, $2.75 million.
I actually didn't think he was going to get that much, but listen, they still have, I think, $5 million in cap space, or roughly around that. I thought he'd take a little less just to have more room at the deadline to acquire players. Now, this isn't a Stanley Cup contending team, so in that retrospect, I understand him taking that money. People that have come off hip surgeries, especially at 34, usually doesn't work out that well. I hope it does. I think it's a good landing spot for him, but he wasn't great with the New York Rangers. Now, obviously, now we know he was dealing with a severe hip injury, but I think he improves that team, but it's not a Stanley Cup contender any which way, and I just hope for Patty Kane that he's able to play well, extend his career, whether it's in Detroit or somewhere else.
Great analysis, Barney, and I should say with Christmas coming up, your book is still for sale, unfiltered. I would tell anybody that they should pick it up. I'm sure they still can as a Christmas gift for somebody, the young hockey player in your life, the dad that's a fan of Barney like the rest of us. Where can they get Unfiltered?
They can get it at Amazon, everything. Jeffrey Bezos has everything. So go to Amazon, pick it up. It was fun to write. I'm really appreciative of you enjoying the book and pushing it out there, but it was a lot of fun to write. And it's a pretty easy read.
Of course, you wrote it, but you sent it down to me here in Boca, and there's a lot of stuff in there people need to read, like your thoughts on Ted Nolan, number one, right? And just your road to the NHL is super inspirational, man. So, Barney, at the end of your career and why, it hit me. Barney, thanks for this.
Thank
you always
you.
fill in. I appreciate you. Yeah, happy holidays.
You as well, buddy. To everyone, all the listeners out there as well. Be safe.
There you go. Have a safe holiday season, everybody.